Hello and welcome to that video of the week where I have a look at all of the developer responses, replies, commentary, and exposition and see what it is that they're saying about this game that we're all so very excited about. Project Caesar. Of course, we had 2 dev diaries this week. Unfortunately, for some reason, whatever reason, we did not get a Saturday building, so we'll not be starting with that. But we did have the Tinto talks about trade and how that works, which was one of my favorite dev diaries that we've had so far. It was basically exactly what I was asking for, this kind of AAR style, giving kind of a lot of information about how trade actually works. And of course, we had the Tinto flavor for Novgorod, which had, I guess, some controversy, not really on the forums, but in my comments section, there certainly was a little bit of that, and I'll go over that. I'll kind of expand on why I believe the way that I believe and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, before we get into the Tinto talks, I want to say thank you to the people who have subscribed. Thanks to my cringe calls to action, is what they call it in the YouTube space. Basically, when I ask you to subscribe and then you subscribe, that makes me happy. So if you haven't subscribed yet, maybe you could make me happy and subscribe. And maybe I'll get to 30,000 subscribers before these grapes that you see on your screen rot or whatever. I don't know. That was cringe as well. It fits the vibe. Anyway, let's move in to the trade dev diary and let's see what the comments have to say. Squid Whisperer, great name. Is trade advantage an absolute thing? Do countries get ranked by trade advantage, and then they each get to fulfill their trades in order until nothing is left? Or do countries get to fulfill the weighted proportion of their trades, depending on their trade advantage? So, the answer here is the first. And I am on the fence about this. I am not sure I entirely like that response. Because, essentially, let us put it this way. Say there is 100 wood in the trade market, and you have, say, 5 or 6 countries, whatever, it doesn't matter how many. The biggest country, or the country that has the most trade advantage, if they have, say, 60 trade advantage out of, say, 100 total, whatever, the number doesn't really matter. Say if they have 60 trade advantage, and if they want all of the wood, 110 wood, let's say, they will take it all, and then the country in second place with 59 trade advantage gets 0 wood. I would kind of like it if it was weighted. So if instead of ranking your absolute trade numbers, it was, I have 60% of the trade advantage in this market, therefore I can get, I mean, if I'm the only one asking for a certain trade good, of course I'll get it all. But it'll basically determine how much of a certain resource I get based on all of the people who are requesting that trade resource, and then determine on their percentage of trade advantage there. I think that might be a better system, and of course somebody can probably come up with some examples with like numbers and such, but I don't think you should be able to monopolize trade just by being, say, 1 trade advantage above your rival. Because take a bit more of an example, right? Say you have a market that is split evenly between 2 countries. These 2 countries are, say it's in 3 countries, right? The market center is in the middle. It is a neutral party. And then to their east, there is country A. To their west is country B. Country A and B are fighting one another. Neither of them have the market capital, right? That's in country C. It is an independent OPM. And say this market center is having quite a lot of imports of munitions and guns and all that kind of stuff. All the things that you want for a war. A and B are at war. And they're fighting, and they are requiring these goods to fund their armies, to supply their armies. If country A has 1 more trade advantage than country B, they get to fulfill their entire order. And country B is left with the scraps that they don't want. What I'm saying is this makes makes trade advantage one of the absolute most important modifiers in the game. Whereas if you are only one trade, if country A is only one trade advantage ahead of country B, they're pretty much going to split the munitions down the middle if they're both demanding those to supply their armies for the war that they're fighting. Being one ahead wouldn't be a massive, massive advantage as an absolute number thing would be. So I hope I'm explaining this correctly. I hope I'm explaining this in a way that's understandable, but essentially I am of the opinion that this is the worst way to do this. Of the two options, the worst way is the one that they're going with. A response here. So if I have a trade advantage of 10%, the next guy has a trade advantage of 10.1%, I might lose, I might completely lose out. Yeah, it seems that way. Seems like maybe some sort of weighted axis might make sense. I agree with this completely. I say that as someone who can imagine how much work you've all put into the balance and making the systems work, so take feedback with some salt. I don't think this part is necessary. Like, you can critique without, like, I don't feel the need to apologize when I disagree with you on whatever it is, right? Don't offer salt with your critique, but just pass it up and have it, be judged on its own merits. I mean, obviously we all know how much work they're putting in, but, critique, this is what these forums are for. So I don't know, just, it's nice that you said this, but I don't think it's necessary. Anyway, Yuan's response here: if you go for the same goods, yes, and he has the capacity to take all the surplus. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that's a good idea, especially warfare, in the example that I just gave. Having a smidgen more trade advantage over your neighbor is just going to be such a colossal advantage. Like, more than 0.1 would merit, in my opinion. Can you explain a bit about the difference between trade efficiency and trade maintenance? Is what Brett Germain is asking. Trade efficiency is the modifier to the sell price on a trade, and the trade maintenance is the cost for each capacity used in a trade. So if you trade further away or use bulkier goods, they cost more to maintain. And this is further expanded upon quite nicely. Give an example of what would modify the price negatively if it isn't production cost or maintenance cost. So, trade example here. Your friendly Swedish merchant buys 10 units of coal in London for 50 euros. Don't know why it's euros. I guess that's just what's on his keyboard. As the price for coal there is 5. He then sells the 10 units of coal in Riga for 60 for a profit of 10, as the price for coal there is 6. The trade efficiency. With a trade efficiency of 5, he will get an additional 3 ducats in profit, giving him a total profit of 13 ducats. Trade maintenance. Shipping 10 units between London and Riga requires 20 capacity, and the maintenance cost per capacity is 0.1 ducats, adding a further cost of 2 ducats to the trade. If you've got a trade maintenance reduction of 10%, it would cost 1.8 ducats to do the trade. So the total profit is 11.2 ducats. If we instead ship the coal to Lübeck, where the price of coal is 5.5 ducats and requires 10 capacity to ship, it would be base profit of 5, trade efficiency adds 2.75 ducats, the trade maintenance is 0.9 ducats, so the total profit would be lower at 6.85 ducats. Now you may think trading from London to Riga is higher profit, so it's clearly better. But we have 10 more trade capacity in London that could be used on another trade, perhaps be smaller in profit and give us a bigger total profit. So yeah, trade has got some meat to it. There is going to be, I assume, many trade guides on YouTube come release, and not so much how to use it, but how to maximize it, because it does seem like you can really get into the weeds here quite a bit. Thanks for the detailed explanation. Just to confirm, though, in-game, your friend will also be able to ship the coal from Riga to London, paying them 10 ducats, with the trade efficiency allowing them to reduce the price to 7 ducats plus 1.8 ducats for a total of 8.8 ducats. Say because he has an awful lot of factories in Great Britain and wants to ensure coal stays as low as possible there, or he plans on fighting Sweden to conquer Paradox HQ when he wants to ensure they have the coal to move their ships to defend. So you could buy the coal in Riga for 60 ducats and sell it for 50 in London. It's assuming there is surplus coal in Riga to export. So base profit would be negative 10 ducats. I don't... Yes, okay, so it is. You can basically choose to sell at a loss if you so want. Okay. So negative 10 ducats of profit, then trade efficiency adds 5%, so 2.5, and then a cost of 1.8. So the first month you'd lose 9.3, and you get worse as prices drop in London and increase in Riga due to the supply increasing in London and demand increasing in Riga. So yeah, like I said, a lot of trade weeds. Does the burger estate of every country also have both a trade capacity and trade advantage for all the markets in which the country is present? So burger trades are done after national trades are done, and the burgers in the market add all their burger capacity to the market and try to solve important needs in the market. So I like that this is here. It means that even if you want to get into the weeds, you really can specialize on what you want to do, and then trust, if you empower your burgers enough, that they will pick up the slack for the nitty-gritty that you haven't, focused on. It really does look like you can get as much into the trade as you want without too much issue. Anyway, sorry, had to sneeze there. One question I always had about trade capacity. Does it count for imports, exports, or both? Say I'm Sweden and I have 2 trade capacity. Does the trade capacity count towards importing 2 cloth from England? Or do I have to have trade capacity in the English market in order to import from it? So you can use your capacity in a market to export from it and or import from it, splitting your capacity how you so desire. Good to know. I see. So needs are taken care of first, while moving stuff comes after. So basically, if there's 10 cloth in a market, I probably should have put this before the previous one, but my apologies. And then all the countries in the market need 8 cloth. The trade advantage only concerns itself with the cloth that's left over and seeing where it goes. The actual needs of the market are covered first. I think this is super duper important as well. Oh, maybe this actually kind of destroys my argument about the trade advantage absolute thing, because if they're fighting, then the needs of the market is sorted out first, and both country A and country B would be in the market. Okay, alright. I guess in that case, country A and country B probably would want to import guns and munitions and such from different trade areas in order to get their own supply. But you're importing to a trade market anyway. What happens with... Okay, here's now my question. If you have, say, in the market center, 100 guns, and in the market, the needs of the market, both countries require those guns, does the trade advantage get involved there at all? Because right now, trade advantage only concerns itself with the cloth. Yes, that's correct. Oh, sorry, that's left over and seeing where it goes. There is none left because those guns are being used by the countries that are in the market. So okay. What is the priority for nations within a market is now my question. Because I'm not sure, and if any of you know, let me know down in the comments below. Is there a comment that I've missed from Johan, or something I'm forgetting? Because, like I've said, I have a terrible memory, yeah, it's quite possible that I've forgotten something. So let me know if I have. What happens if 2 countries in a market both want the same thing? How is that trade goods split between them? Is it trade advantage? Is it something else? Is it a different modifier that I am forgetting about? But anyway, just finally on this dev diary, it's not something that we are learning. We know that this is happening. Colorblind types in the game are being added. We knew that already, but we have now got a example of it. So they have it for Protonopia, Tritonopia, Deuteranopia, and then of course the default. So these are the 2 examples given. I don't know what this is for. Is this one for Protonopia or Tritonopia? I don't know. But, if you have issues with colorblindness, then you are in luck with this game. More so than, I think, any others other than, I think, CK3 onwards had colorblind modes. I actually don't know. But anyway, I think that's awesome that it's been added. And we'll move on now to the Novgorod flavor Dev Diary, the Sovereign Lord Republic of Veliki Novgorod. So, I assume you're mostly keeping these out of the scope for Dev Diaries, but I was hoping to see more goals one could hope to achieve with flavor. These modifiers and stuff seem interesting if they add up to different estates being in control and they cater to enforce different playstyles, but it's difficult to hook on to why I would want to play Florence or Novgorod from reading these, etc., etc. He's basically asking, how is it different to play this from Muscovy, Russia, or this is such and such? I think Pavi's response here is actually very important. What we're trying to do is show the country flavor setup. Basically what they did with the Tinto maps being the geographical map setup. So we don't really want to nudge players to play country A on X playstyle or country B on Y playstyle, because we think that these things are stuff that players need to explore and discover when they release the game and they start playing it. That's a fair point. And I guess it's a little bit of a response, I mean, not intentionally, but it's a little bit of a response to what I keep asking for, which is like the AAR kind of thing. I'd imagine, I still want AAR kind of content from Tinto. But it is interesting because that, if you're getting these Tinto flavors and somebody is like, okay, this is how I'm playing Novgorod, this is what I'm doing, this is how Novgorod plays, like, are you encouraging then the player to play that way? And I mean, they still have the agency to, you know, play in a completely different way, but are you subtly influencing them? I don't know. I'd still be in favor of a little bit of an AAR kind of situation going on. Maybe not for the flavor Dev Diaries though, but certainly for mechanics, I would like an AAR style. You know, tell me how things are done. But yeah, I just thought this comment was interesting and wanted to share it. Is Novgorodian colonization present in some way in the game? So, colonizing the northern provinces is one of the most interesting things to do with Novgorod, yes. Cool. Obviously, we have learned about how colonization works in EU5 already. We'll see how it plays out. It'd be nice if we got an AAR about it. Anyway. How rare are the icons? So icons are made by a specific type of artist, the iconographer, which is also unique to Orthodox countries, and they'll produce icons as works of art. So it depends on how much money you want to spend on it, basically. Cool. So there could be a lot more than you have in EU4. Orthodox being a really, really powerful religion in EU4, mostly due to the icon system. Icon of St. Michael getting that 5% discipline, it's pretty nice. But yes, having them made by iconographer artist people is really, really cool in my opinion. When the Karelians become free from that rebellion, is there any chance to play as them? Not now, but it may potentially be added as an option. That'd be cool. You know, free Karelia, of course, naturally. But that might be an interesting tag to play as for sure. There won't be any historical content for them, I would assume, because, well, they didn't manage to break free, so what historical content could you add from it? I think a lot of the, let's say, dynamic historical content, or made-up historical content, is maybe going to come in future patches, but especially for the base game, the release game, we're probably not getting anything that didn't actually happen historically. Dynamic historical events, but no ahistorical events, let's say. Besides being a neighbor, is there a limit to the ruler you can select? So, obviously, Novgorod is a republic that elects a ruler from the surrounding nations. For example, if they belong to an East Slavic culture, or can you, for example, invite the Swedish king or Tatar Khan to become your grand prince? Also, can that ruler refuse the title? If so, is there any reason they may want to do so? So there are no hard blocks to selection, although they'd love to read any feedback regarding it if you guys think it can be improved. Yeah, I'm just going to elect the English monarch to be the ruler. That might work. But I do like the idea that, you know, doesn't matter that you are a king in your own right of a different country. Your term's up, and we're electing someone new now. So kindly fuck off. Is there a way to forcefully or otherwise make Novgorod pick a certain ruler? Can Sweden somehow get the king to be the ruler of Novgorod? So not really, but it could be an interesting peace option. So we may end up seeing that, you know, do a war with Novgorod and here, elect my king now, thank you very much. A forced temporary PU is actually kind of super interesting to me. Are all the advances of a nation always available, or can they be locked behind a certain choice of administrative, diplomatic, military at the start of an age? There's a mix. It depends on each nation and each advance. Does Novgorod have late game content for forming Russia, or is it all early game since they get killed by Muscovy? So here's what I was talking about before. There isn't any historical content after it got annexed by Muscovy, logically, but it can get additional content by forming Russia. So Russia itself has content, but you don't get anything special if you form it with Novgorod, which is a little sad, I would say, because obviously the content that you get for forming Russia will be very specifically, historical content in the Muscovy Russia historical sense, which is very different to how it would be if, a republic formed it, for example. So, yeah, I don't know. This is the kind of thing that I think will be added post-release. I think it basically has to be. Could we get a start date screenshot of the estate's influence? Because the nobles seem to start with a lot of power in the various reforms. So yeah, the boyars very powerful in Veliki Novgorod at the start of the game, to the point where they have 55 power. Thankfully, they're very, very satisfied as well. But again, I was mostly bringing this up because I really quite like the UI here now. It's looking really quite nice. The earlier versions of this UI looked very sparse, very Spartan, very plain, whatever. Now it's getting real nice. So yeah, it's nice. It's nice. It's cute. Kotik Durkatik saying here, I think Peasantnik Office would sound much better, so they just changed it to expanded Pozadnichezstvo, as it reads better. You use Kiev in the game, so it makes sense to write Kievan Rus for consistency. And this is the controversial part. This is the bit that, this is the controversial part, right? So, when reading the dev diary, noticed in the flavor text, it said Kievan Rus, as in the Russian transliteration for Kiev, which is not the term that is used in the majority of English-speaking countries nowadays. And yes, that is thanks to Russia's unjustified invasion of Ukraine starting in 2022. Full-scale invasion, of course. They did it in 2014 as well. But yes, that is the reason why we now use the word Kiev. It just is. That is not, however, the reason that I am adamant that Kievan Rus, this spelling, should be used in the game. Let's go and have a look at an earlier dev diary. This is the Tinto maps for Poland, Ruthenia Baltic feedback. And look what we have right here. The spelling of this tag in the game is Kiev. If we then go over to the locations map mode and we have a look around, we can see Kyiv, spelled K-Y-I-V. For consistency's sake, over literally everything else, this makes the most sense. And I'm sure people will argue, but Lambert, they didn't spell it like that back then. True. Yeah, you're right. They didn't. They also didn't spell it K-I-E-V. And obviously we're talking about transliteration as well, right? Obviously, they're spelled in Cyrillic characters. But the Latin transliteration of what they spelled it back then and what they spell it now and all of they didn't spell it Kiev or Kiev. They didn't do that back then. So we need to decide on what is the most appropriate term right now. And personally, I'm of the opinion that it depends on who owns the location, right? I think if Muscovy conquers Kiev, then maybe, it should probably be spelled in the K-I-E-V sense. But it isn't at the start of the game, so it shouldn't at the start of the game, I think the most applicable, or like, if Poland conquers it, then I think they have a Y in it some way, K-I-O-W, or so, with a Y, I don't know, there's a lot of different spellings of this city. But yeah, this ended up being quite controversial on my my video, right? 144 comments, as opposed to decidedly less on other videos that I've had. Um, I don't think it deserves to be controversial. I don't think anything I said was controversial. I think they spelled it wrong. They just did. Consistency states that it should be this. It just does. So I hope they change it. I hope they change it to Kiev and Rus. And it's nothing to do with supporting Ukraine, even though that is morally obligatory in today's day and age. So yeah, this is just the most consistently correct spelling in English right now. It just is. And also, yeah, I wish they used British English. Unfortunately, they use American English because, I don't know, trying to appeal to a wider audience or some stupid shit. I don't fucking know. Anyway, moving on. Not there. Here. Can tell us the name of the Society of Pops that are tributaries of Novgorod. So, yeah, they have quite a few, and they're all, a lot of them are here tributaries. Bardakians, the Belagorians, the Kazmians, etc., all the way down. And then, of course, they got the two vassals, Oreshek and Pskov. But I like this. This also looks really cool. I assume there's going to be something like you can click on this to expand it and see more stuff. But it would also say that maybe something needs to be done with the UI here, because the red and the brown here, the contrast here is really not great. That really should be made more contrastful. I don't know what the term is. I'm sure there's some scientific way of determining contrast. Alright, so I found a contrast checker here, and I inputted the color values, and contrast ratio of 1.34 to 1 seems pretty bad. Yeah, no, it fails the WCAG AA. It fails on all fronts, really. So, yeah. Contrast ratio of 4.5 to 1 for normal text and 3.5 to 1 for large text. We're looking at 1.34 to 1. That is not enough. That is straight up not enough. And definitely, I think this could be looked at to make it a little bit better. And just for completeness sake, we'll pop in the green as well, for the tributary here, and we got a 2.25, which is it is also a solid fail on all fronts. So yeah, if it was made lighter, then that would work. But yeah, I definitely this needs to be looked at just a little bit. Is Novgorodian colonization present? Oh yeah, we've already read that comment. My apologies. About the unique advances. How impactful would these advances be? It's a matter of balance. Okay then. Will it be a strictly bad choice to play as a tag without special advances? No. There are lovely countries to play without so much unique content. We use them a fair bit as they're really good to playtest base mechanics, as they're better than on the flavorful countries. That's fair enough. Wouldn't it make more sense to lock them behind culture and or location instead of tag to make it historically less important tags more viable for the player? For example, another Russian tag conquers the city of Novgorod and thereby gain access to the Northern Center of Art advance. There are also religion and culture locked advances, I guess, for countries that don't have, you know, the tag-specific ones. So it makes sense. I do like the idea of location-specific advances. That is kind of cute. I kind of like the idea of that. But anyway, finally, last one. What does the book icon mean in the event options? It means there is historical options. We had this as a... I can't remember what Tinto talk it was, but basically somebody asked for a way to show which option the AI should take if it's, you know, they're going the historical path, and we're getting game options as well to determine if a country goes a historical path or if they're allowed to deviate or whatever. So the book here means that historically this is what they did when this event popped for them in real life. And if you have your game options to set to say, you know, the AI does the historical options, then this is what they will do. Personally, I don't think I'll do permanently, you know, historical options. I think, 60-40 balance or something like that might work better. I don't know. But anyway, that's today's Tinto Talk video. I assume this one's going to be controversial again because of, you know, what I've said about spelling of Kiev. But at the end of the day, I don't give a single damn. I have my opinions. I'm never going to, you know, shy away from them. And to that one clown in my previous video telling me to stay in my lane, no. Screw you. Bye-bye.